It's very unnerving right now. Keeping an eye on the woods, because I know those woods down there, they run right back here. And I got my daughter inside.
Your daughter, how old's your daughter?
She's 10 years old.
Seeing those officers with those long guns walking through,
that actually made me feel better. Seeing the cops coming around here, that makes me feel a million times better. In a situation like this, I wish I had a firearm.
I think it's the silence of just not knowing, right? That's what they don't say. And I spoke with a lot of eyewitnesses throughout the course of the evening and early morning. I spoke with their family members who are waiting to be reunified, and it was telling. It's just there's really not much to say, and we understand that. It's going to be with me for the rest of my life, and it's really hard for me to explain that. Well, several of them aren't with us anymore. And the other folks that I knew, that were there either as witnesses or family members of witnesses. It's obviously traumatic. It was the bright spot was seeing individuals reunified with their loved ones after not knowing for so long. But on the other side, the ones that were waiting that probably would never be reunified. I don't think there's going to be very few people in this community that have not been touched by this.
We are receiving information about this horrific tragedy. It has moved everyone in the Congress, as you might imagine. Our hearts go out to all those involved, the families, of course, of the victims, and we're so grateful for law enforcement. We trust and hope and pray that they're able to apprehend this individual as quickly as possible. There's no more injury or loss of life. This is a dark time in America. We have a lot of problems, and we're really, really hopeful and prayerful. Prayer is appropriate in a time like this, that the evil can end and this senseless violence can stop. And so that's the statement this morning on behalf of the entire House of Representatives. Everyone wants this to end.
It's a very difficult situation in Maine. This is a story we hear in other places. People go to a bowling alley, they go out to dinner for a cornhole tournament. They think it's going to be a quiet night with their teenager, and it turns into mass shooting events. But this is not what normally happens in Maine. So people are heartbroken, they're upset. Schools are on lockdown. So much of our communities are frightened because the shooter is still on the loose. This makes this a very unusual situation, and certainly in our state, we are not used to these kinds of incidents. We're a small state, a small town. Everyone knows everybody. It's really a terrifying and very upsetting morning. And particularly knowing, this was teen night at the bowling alley. I mean, people are just on pins and needles, wondering who was injured, who is no longer alive, and also if the shooter is still on the loose, what else do we have to worry about? And I certainly, want the speaker to know we appreciate his prayers, his thoughts. I know I'm going to meet a lot of families and others who are going to say, you're in Congress, we need more than thoughts and prayers. But today we want to focus on making sure that shooter is caught, that people stay safe in their homes, that businesses that need to be closed stay closed. But this isn't how we normally have to interact in Maine. We're a state where people have gotten to know each other well over the years, where people are usually very comfortable with gun ownership. We're not used to having this kind of assault style weapon and this kind of shooting.
Last night, Lewiston became yet another community torn apart by senseless gun violence. Once again, routine gatherings, this time at a bowling alley and a restaurant, have been turned into scenes of horrific carnage. Doug and I mourn for those who were killed. We pray for those who were injured and grieve with so many whose lives are forever changed and impacted by what happened. In our country today, the leading cause of death of American children is gun violence. Gun violence has terrorized and traumatized so many of our communities in this country. And let us be clear, it does not have to be this way, as our friends in Australia have demonstrated.
The stories coming out of Lewiston are gut-wrenching. People gunned down while just trying to enjoy their Wednesday night out at the bowling alley and a restaurant. A bowling alley and a restaurant. These are supposed to be places where families go to have a good time. But now they've become sites in too many places of tragic mass shootings in America. It's beyond heartbreaking that mass shootings like this continue to happen in our country. My condolences are with the families and loved ones. You can just imagine them sitting at home and just wondering, why did this happen to us? My prayers will be with all Mainers and first responders as authorities keep working to locate the shooter. Today, our hearts are with Lewiston.